I have some colleagues who write right on the slide, "Don't forget to hit record," and I'm one time forgetting to record away from doing that myself. Okay, let's dive in here. So again, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Jenn Walker Wall. I'm the founder of Work Wonders Careers, and I started this business after beginning my own career in hiring. So for all of you who are busy submitting your online applications, I used to be in the role of the first person taking a pass at those resumes. And while I ended up in that job by accident, as many of us do, I learned a lot about what it took to stand out as someone applying online and often applying cold, right? So not necessarily having any reference or referral inside the organization. So after doing that for many years, I moved on from the hiring space and went to work in research and academia, where I spent the bulk of my career. But I really missed working with job seekers. You know, recruiting is different from the rest of the HR space because everybody's happy to talk to you. It's only good news when you're working in recruiting for the most part. So it was a really fun, good, positive work experience for me. And so I started writing resumes and editing resumes and helping friends with their job search on the side. And so Work Wonders started as a little side hustle and is now my full-time job. So I'm really happy to be here today because I feel like there's so much that I learned from my experience in hiring, but there's also so much that I've learned from working with clients. You know, what is working for them, how to best operationalize these strategies, what's going on in the job market. Yes, part of this is about subject matter expertise in hiring, but part of it is how do we make this work for us as people with busy lives, people with a lot going on, people with a lot going on in our collective world. So we're going to be talking a lot about that today. I'm also going to be sharing some some episodes to our podcast, Careers at the End of the World. You know, we're going to be talking about a kind of a large process today, a large framework of thinking about your job search. And if you want to dive deeper into any one of the areas that I talk about here, I've got some recommendations on how to do that. I'll also be sending out an email to everyone. So if you're not capturing all of this now, no worries, you'll get it in an email. All right, so some things we're going to chat about today. I really wanted to share some insight from my point of view about what it looks like for job seekers right now. I'm sure y'all have your own experiences. I'm sure you're here because it's not feeling super easy. But I want to say, you know, there's a lot going on that isn't all terrible. Okay, everything's taking a long time. But I do see people on a very regular basis getting traction. So we'll talk a little bit about that. For people who are maybe new to the job search or are you know, feeling a little all over the place, I want to offer a little bit of a what I refer to as a more linear process for your job search. There's something just inherently nonlinear about this. You know, you could be interviewing and close to an offer and then, you know, not have that fall through and have to go back to applying for jobs. So there is some flexibility and a lot of nonlinear work in this process, but I try to provide something that is more linear in order to help people make sense of the process and figure out what step makes sense for them. I also want to share some strategies and tactics that will help you elevate and optimize your efforts. I do see people getting traction. I do see people applying online cold and having them be able to land interviews. Okay, so for the vast majority of job seekers, I want to see that kind of result as well. And we'll talk a little bit about what it takes to get there because it's not really happening by accident. And most of all, you know, everyone is coming here in their own timeline with their own goals, with their own pace. And so I really want you to tune into that. What are your needs, goals, resources, and next steps? It's going to look different for people. And even though the job search consists primarily of like a handful of things that everyone has to do over and over again until they land that job offer, there's different ways and different timelines, different paces that you can pursue this work. And it's really important that people are paying attention to what makes sense for them. So at a high level, this is what our process looks like. So just want to, we always start with reflection with our clients. No matter where they are in the process, we want to take some time to make sure that they're they know what their qualifications are, they know what their target jobs are, they understand their value, because if you are missing those pieces, it's going to be really hard to operationalize anything looking like a job search. And once we figure that out, we move into the revision stage. And that's when we start taking these stories about who we are and what we have to offer and turning them into materials and content for other people. So that means we're taking our stories and thinking about the receiver, the reader, the listener, and making sure that we're tuning into their needs and communicating to those needs very specifically in this process. I'm also a huge fan of imperfect action. I don't think there's any other kind. I think we can fool ourselves and we can enter into this with extraordinarily high standards, but that actually lowering those standards allows us to get a lot more done, and getting more done is often really helpful. So I'll offer some suggestions for doing just that. I'll talk a little bit about how we take care of ourselves and each other in this process, and a little bit about how to leverage connections and relationships as well. And then we come all the way back around here, because once you've done some of this work, it's a really great opportunity to assess what's working, where are you getting traction, what's not working, where are you not getting traction, and to try and fine tune a little bit from there. So this is what I'll be walking you through. Now, I want to start by sharing what are just some maybe obvious takeaways from the job market. There are some places where there are very deep impacts. Okay, so I'm thinking about tech. I'm thinking about the media world, right? Where we're noticing that job searches are taking much longer than other industries, other places in the job market. Overall, I see the job search process taking longer. I have never, in my 10 years of doing this, seen clients in so many clients, or any clients actually, in sixth, seventh, and eighth round interviews, even 9 rounds sometimes. So I think unfortunately what happens is that when employers kind of have a lot of people to choose from, they want to see a lot of people. They have they take a lot more time in order to make their decisions, which is really frustrating. It means perfectly qualified, very strong people can end up doing a lot of interviewing more than once and have it not result in an offer. So the interview stage is very competitive and very long. I don't know if anyone here has been involved in any process that looks like that. Feel free to share if that's the case. Um, there's a lot going on, and I can honestly say, even coming from faculty hiring in an academic context, which is a very long hiring process, this is longer and more intense than that in some cases. Because of the longer nature of the search, the reduced availability of quality aligned jobs, I see many more folks taking bridge jobs. Sometimes that looks like freelance contract. Sometimes it looks like taking, retail jobs so that they can sustain their search. That's something our clients come to us for, is to find aligned opportunities. And sometimes that means taking bridge jobs so that there's some kind of income, some kind of continuity in order to make that happen. I don't think there's any shame in this. I think paying your bills and being able to support yourself while you're looking for something aligned is a beautiful thing that you can give to yourself. And so I encourage people who are, feeling like they might have to take something that looks like this so that they can continue their efforts. I do talk about some of these observations in podcast episodes 23, 24, 29, and 30. The other thing that I want to say, I've hinted at, is that the basics still work. Okay. They're just working in this context that's much slower and much longer, right? So I'm still seeing cold resumes generate interviews. I don't have a lot of evidence that that's not working. I do think relationships are becoming more important. Having a referral is becoming more important. But I also think because applicant pools are bigger, there's a good chance there's more than one referral in that pool. So just keep that in mind too. I think it's more important than ever to think about sustaining your search. So for the vast majority of our clients, this is not a volume-based approach that they're taking. I'm a big fan of, doing as little work as we have to generate results. And so for our clients who are really clear, really aligned, know where they want to be, they're not applying to dozens of jobs every week. They're applying to the jobs that they're well qualified for so that they can be a standout applicant. And they're applying for them promptly after they're posted, because obviously there's lots of applicants and there's lots of people applying very quickly. So I really want to encourage you, if you've been doing this volume based approach to swing in the other direction here, because what happens is we free up our time. We free up our time for bridge jobs. We free up our time to just not job search, which is an okay thing to do, even if you're between jobs, and really just make sure that we're able to sustain a search that's going to help us get results. So let's talk a little bit about this first step here with self-reflection. I want you to get really clear on what your needs are, what your goals are, and what your priorities are. Okay. So, some people can't wait to be back in the office 5 days a week. Godspeed to those people. A lot of people would prefer to be hybrid or fully remote, right? So you want to think about those sorts of things, like what do you need? What's going to support your life? It's not limited to thinking about location of work, but that's one of the things that's really top of mind. Another thing to think about is like, do you have a long runway here? Or, do you have a short runway and you want to find something sooner rather than later? What are you pursuing? What is a good move for you? A lot of people kind of move into a job search because they're, to use the carrot and stick analogy here, they lose their job, they're unhappy at work, there's something pushing them out of the job they currently have. And that's helpful, but what's more helpful is to have a carrot too, to really think about what it is that we're pursuing and to get clear about what that's going to look like for us. And again, making sure that, you can be imaginative and comprehensive in your envisioning of the new job about what you want, but also be clear about what the priorities are. Like, what's a deal breaker, and what are you willing to accept, or where are the points of potential negotiation? This is going to help you set yourself up for success, to set yourself up for focusing on jobs that are actually aligned for you. Because when I really dive into someone who's doing a more volume-based search, what I'm often finding is that they're applying to jobs that they probably wouldn't be able to take or take for very long because they're just not a very good fit for them. When I think about clarity, there's a few different pieces that I'm looking for people to be able to articulate. I think some people think clarity is pigeonholing yourself in a singular direction, but I'm actually looking for clients to have an understanding of their own experience, their own skills, their own goals, what they'd like to be doing, and how those map on to different kinds of roles. It's okay with me if you have a few different roles that you're considering. Clarity isn't about, putting yourself in one single job function, but it is about knowing what you're likely to get traction for and being able to communicate your qualifications. So if that's something you're struggling with, especially if you're trying to make a pivot right now, make sure you take the time to really look. And we'll talk a little bit about qualifications and all that, but it's really worthwhile because it is a tough market, I would say, to make a pivot. Not an impossible market, a tough pivot. And what we really need to do and work towards, and we'll do in the next step, is thinking about how to communicate our value effectively when we're doing so. And because the job search is an emotional process with lots of ups and downs, okay, I really want to encourage you to write a lot of your observations down. Document and reflect what you're doing. It's always okay to update it, to change it, for it to shift. But sometimes people will have a lot of insight and a lot of wisdom and have a bad day and kind of lose sight of everything they're bringing to the process. So I like to be able to say, go look at those notes, go look at what you wrote down, because it can just be a very grounding process. I also think writing it down is helpful, and something you might consider writing down. I was just talking to a client yesterday is, if you're going through a really tough time at work, or your last work situation left a bad taste in your mouth, what you might want to think about is like having some space to document that for yourself in its truest form from your perspective. I find that doing this is really helpful because so often job seekers jump right into presentation mode, interview mode, where you do have to censor yourself a little bit. Like, you can't just walk into an interview and tell the interviewers how terrible your last workplace is. You have to frame that story differently. Unfortunately, we can't just be totally honest about things. So this part of the process, the reflection phase, is a place where we can be honest with ourselves. And then in the next step, we can edit those stories into stories that will actually help us in the process. Now, when I tell people to, make sure they've done some reflection and preparation prior to starting a job search. People panic because they feel better with those applications just going out there. So I've put together what I consider to be like a minimum viable self-reflection set of questions here. So even if you take 30 minutes or an hour, I think you'll be better suited for it. So what do you want more of and what do you want less of? What matters most to you right now? For example, maybe what matters most is getting interviews and getting an offer, like really getting traction in your process. I also like to ask people, what are you most proud of? Oftentimes, this content is nowhere on their resume. Okay. It's nowhere top of mind. And it can be really beautiful things. It doesn't even have to be a work related outcome. Maybe it's just how you showed up in a difficult moment or how you handled conflict. But I always find that this question yields really great, helpful content. And then finally, what are your priorities? Okay, what are your next steps? What are the things you're looking to get out of this? What are the top pieces here that you want to keep in mind and use to evaluate potential opportunities for fit? I really recommend, no matter how urgently you are job seeking, don't skip a little bit of reflection. Okay, it's going to save you time, it's going to save you energy, and it's going to make the strategic communication pieces a lot easier. I also want you to remember you're going to learn as you go. Sometimes people put so much pressure on knowing things about their future job before they even get started. It's just way too high of a bar. So instead of trying to know everything in advance, write down questions. Like what questions do you still have about what will make a work opportunity the right one for you? Go ahead and write those down as part of your reflection. And remember that what we're doing here is laying the foundation. This saves you time. This is going to make you more efficient. And we're all about efficiency here. We don't like to, do the same thing more than once. We don't want to be skipping steps only to have to like come back and start over. So lay a strong foundation so that you can use your time wisely in this process. Yes, we love keeping a journal. I think that's so helpful. And Monique, you're right. It makes such a huge difference in the content that appears on people's resume. So we'll talk about that now. Okay. So once we've done some of our own work and we've documented our own experience and given ourselves permission to be totally brutally honest, it's time to come to this next step. And when we're working with clients, this includes resumes, cover letters, LinkedIn profiles, portfolio bios, that sort of thing. It also includes responses, stories that we're telling there. It also includes things like networking content. For the sake of today's 1 hour workshop, I'm going to focus on resumes, but this process will work and help you produce quality content for all of those other areas as well. I do love to talk about resumes. So I have some podcast episodes here. 13 is a really good comprehensive episode about our entire resume strategy that you're about to get a snapshot of. So if you haven't listened to that, I know not everyone probably like loves to listen to podcast episodes on resumes, but nonetheless, it is good. It's not too long. And it really goes into a lot of our process here, but I'm going to kind of give you a high level overview. One of the things that we look at for resumes when we're working with clients is we want to make sure that you are qualified for the job. Okay. And this is a step that a lot of people skip. There's a lot of tools out there that will tailor your resume for you and all of that. But what I need you to do is make sure that you are a good fit for the vast majority of jobs that you're applying for. Okay. Um, Now, I know there's a lot of people out there who have a very different take on this, but having done the hiring, I want to make sure that you know, especially in a competitive job market, there's going to be people who check boxes in a competitive applicant pool. So if you want your resume to do the work of helping you stand out, then it needs to be able to reflect back to the people doing the hiring that you check their boxes. Okay. So look at those qualifications. And I would recommend spending the vast majority of your time applying to jobs that you're well qualified for. And we'll talk about making those qualifications clear here. I often like talk about this in terms of thinking about applying to colleges. You want to apply for schools where, you think you're solidly going to get in, and then you like sprinkle in some schools that are a little bit more of a reach, right? And this is just important. I always get a lot of pushback on this, but I'm telling you from a hiring perspective that being well qualified is partly what's going to make your resume work. If you don't have the years of experience, if you don't have the technical skills or the areas of expertise, then what we're not going to be able to make your resume stand out for the role, right? Like we need to be able to take the experience that you have and present it. That's what makes a strong resume. And if you don't have that, like we can't make that up. That's not what we do here. I see questions coming in. This is usually where I get the most questions. So I'm going to answer them after I talk about all this, but please feel free to drop them. I see them and I cannot wait to respond. Okay. The other piece of this is you need to be consistent in your applications. It's not going to be sufficient to apply for one job and then to turn around and say, this resume doesn't work. We have no idea what's going on with any one job. The job could be pulled. You could be the 300th applicant of the day. It could go to an internal applicant. The hiring manager could be out on maternity leave. Like literally anything could happen. And your job as a job seeker is to apply consistently enough so that we can kind of account for those idiosyncrasies, plus just the fact that these pools are competitive, okay? And we want to write our resume for human readers, okay? I will be the first person to change this slide when I have a compelling reason to do so. I don't have a compelling reason to do so. For the last 10 years, I have said you need to write resumes for human readers, not for applicant tracking systems. And I maintain that to this day. Happy to take questions about that. We'll talk about this. It doesn't mean we can't use technology to help us. I see that question in the chat, but we're writing for human readers, and that's really important. So what I did is I grabbed this list of qualifications off a job posting. And I know there's a lot here. That's okay. You don't need to read every single thing. I just want to bring your attention to a couple of specific pieces here. You have some personal attributes, right? Like energetic, flexible, enthusiastic, we sometimes see, right? So we have those. We have years of experience. In this case, only a couple years. Most people here probably have more than a couple years of experience. We have a few areas of expertise, right? So we have marketing and communications at a high level, but also print, web, digital, social media marketing. Then we have some technical pieces, right? Adobe, Microsoft, not so technical, but technically in the same bucket, MailChimp, LinkedIn, right? Social media, all these tools. This is what a recruiter would be looking for in a person's resume in order to move them into the pile that's going to the hiring manager. I'm saying pile, but it's like an electronic pile. Okay, that's really what the applicant tracking system allows us to do so effectively is share applicants' information, including their resume. So what we want to do is summarize how you meet those qualifications in your resume as quickly, concisely, and clearly as possible. So we use something called the summary of qualifications. And the summary of qualifications goes underneath your name and contact information at the top of your resume and above anything else. Okay. So whatever style you've got going on, doesn't matter. Summary of qualifications. And in 3 to 5 bullet points, we don't use a generic summary about you. We talk specifically and share specifically how you meet the qualifications of the job at hand. This is where 99% of the tailoring in a resume happens for most of our clients. It only happens here in the summary of qualifications. 3 to 5 bullet points that are concise, like if this turns into a giant block of text at the top of your resume, it loses that ability to quickly share your qualifications at a person who's only going to look at your resume for a few seconds, okay, to make a decision about you. And I will tell you, as a reader of resumes in the hiring process, that is enough time, okay? That is enough time to see if you are a qualified applicant. People are not going to go line by line through your resume to see if you're checking these boxes. Recruiters get measured on the time it takes for them to fill a role. So one of the things that we want to do is make it really easy for them to see that you're qualified for the role. And generic personal summaries at the top of resumes, in my experience, are often not enough to really help you be a standout applicant. So this is the process that we like to use. And for other folks, for many folks, pretty much all folks, really, I would say most of our clients have a separate skills section where we allow all the tools, applications, software, languages to live so that that's a piece they don't necessarily have to tailor. And those live in one place so that some person who, the recruiter, the hiring manager wants to make sure you know Salesforce, Salesforce is in there. They're able to see it. Okay. So this is just one way that we take your experience from the reflection phase and we move it into a revision phase where we're not just thinking about the story for our sake. We're thinking about telling the story for a stakeholder, a hiring stakeholder's sake. Okay. And it's a very important step. I would argue that this piece of the process is really what helps so many of our clients get traction. So again, you want to be qualified, okay? You want to be as qualified as possible for the majority of jobs that you're applying for. This also means you're going to have to give yourself credit for work. A lot of times people will see quantitative skills and be like, do I have that? And they will absolutely be able to do that. So something about technical skills really gives people pause in terms of thinking about, feeling confident about their ability to speak to that qualification. And if you're worried that you're, massively overstating your ability to do quantitative analysis, look for context clues in the rest of the job posting. Are they asking for you to have a PhD in statistics, or are they just asking for you to be able to like look at some basic data in Excel and come to some conclusions, right? Like that's what it is in most cases. If it's a really high level analytical role, it will usually be very obvious in the job title, the responsibilities, and the other qualifications. So we want to focus on jobs that you're qualified for, and we want to make sure those qualifications are clear. We also want to make sure that we are choosing jobs that make sense, where we're well qualified and that we're consistent as possible in our applications. Okay, so for many of our clients who I'll say would probably prefer to work remote but are open to working hybrid, we're looking at a minimum of 4 to 8 targeted tailored applications per month for at least 2 months before we make any significant changes. And we often see people getting traction in that time period. One of the reasons I ask people to do this for 8 weeks is because you need some time for the right jobs to be posted. And you need some time for the hiring process to happen. You will never job search faster than the hiring process. Okay, I'm going to say that one more time. You cannot job search faster than the hiring process. So a lot of times people come to me and they'll say in the little new client intake form we have, I would like a job in 8 weeks. If that's your timeline, I hope you're interviewing for a job right now, because that is usually an 8-week timeline. If you're not interviewing for jobs right now, and in fact, you haven't been applying consistently, and you're not even sure you have a resume that's doing the work for you that you need it to, you are probably more than 8 weeks away from a job. I'm sorry to say, okay? I also really encourage folks to apply early. I think that's really helpful. Not just in a competitive applicant pool, but I remember my days, reading resumes. I was able to like spend a lot more time on the first few applicants that came in the first couple days a job was posted. And then after the first weekend, there were just so many applicants that I couldn't keep up and read each resume. So we want to make sure that we're applying early when possible and that we're leveraging, connections when we can, if they exist. Okay, let me take a look at a couple of questions here. What do I think of ChatGPT to help tailor the resume for specific jobs? I have seen ChatGPT, so I think ChatGPT might be my favorite tool personally, that I've seen produce quality work, especially in terms of tailoring a summary of qualifications. So I think it's okay to use ChatGPT. I think probably any of these tools are okay, but like where I notice a little bit of a gap is in I need the job seeker to be making decisions and to feel confident about making quality decisions and assessing that content. So you can do the job of A, making sure that you're well qualified, and B, looking at the qualifications and looking at the content ChatGPT gives you to make sure that, it is good. You have to sort of be in charge of using that tool, if that makes sense. Monique is asking a very good question that I have given a lot of thought to. Would you recommend applying for jobs where you are overqualified? I think a lot of people are finding that they don't have a choice. So I don't really want to say yes or no. What I will say is that if that is the case for you and you are significantly overqualified, I don't think that is necessarily advantageous. Okay. So I would recommend reducing the years of experience on your resume to something that more or less aligns with what's there. Um, the last 18 months, more than the previous, 8.5 years of my practice, I have made sure my clients are not sharing 5, 10, 15 years or more of experience. Previously, I didn't find that to be such a challenge, but it's just not advantageous right now. I hate to say that. I hate to say that as someone who's 41 and also in that place where I have to think about how much experience I have. So you want your resume to make you look like a very good fit. So you may want to make some changes to the overall content that's there. Kelly has questions here. You're welcome. Um, is my favorite place to view jobs and get alerts? I'm going to pose that question to the group. Does anyone have any favorite places they want to share? Get alerts so that when they are posted. I think I have a couple of suggestions. Fortunately, unfortunately, LinkedIn is like the most robust job search site that we have. Um, for reasons I won't go into, it's obviously not the most user friendly. Hey, Christine, that's good to see you here. Um, but what I would do if there were places like organizations where I actually wanted to work and were target organizations, I would probably set up Google Alerts or be on the company website on a regular basis. The company website is usually, in most cases, the first place the job is posted. Yeah, Lisa, that is that's what I would do too. Good questions. So this revision stage is really important because it's very easy to try to use the bulk of your experience, the depth of your experience. And oftentimes what we want to leverage are the specifics of our experience. We want to think about the qualifications on a job posting as like a little cookie cutter that we're applying to our experience, and it's helping us form a narrative, and it's letting us know the pieces that are less necessary, right? And that can be hard because I think it's hard for people to part with some of their experience, but that is really helpful at this point for many people. Some other things our clients do is create different templates. So if you're looking at a couple of different jobs, maybe a nonprofit type job and a more corporate job, maybe you have a couple of templates that help, set you up for success and make those tweaks in the summary a little bit easier. Um, I also think this is a place where your resume is going to be tailored, but your LinkedIn has to work for everything, right? And so we want to spend some time in the revision phase, like really looking at the overall target roles and making sure that we have a summary and professional headline that really aligns with the breadth of what we're looking for. LinkedIn requires us to do that. We can't have a different LinkedIn profile for every job, nor would we probably want that. This can also help you position yourself for short or long-term work, right? Like, so think about that. And if you're someone who's accumulated a lot of like short-term work, sometimes what I'll do on a resume is actually just put them under an umbrella, kind of consolidate them so that there's not like a lot of short chunks all together, kind of obscuring your longer work experience. And I also think that this process will help you with your interviews. Okay. It will help you tell more succinct stories. It will help you identify the right stories, the right people for the right jobs. And all of that is really important. This is really a place to like attune to what hiring stakeholders are looking for. We really need to be aware of other people's kind of habits and needs in this process. And this is the stage where we have a chance to do that. Any other questions on resumes? Are we good? All right. So some things I like to say all the time. In fact, many of you have probably heard me say these things many times already. The best kind of resume is a submitted resume. So despite the fact that I can and often do spend a lot of time thinking about every line in a resume, at the end of the day, we want it to be submitted. It doesn't do any good deep in your Google Drive folder or somewhere on your desktop. We need to get these out into the world. So if you only have 20 minutes, do your best to tailor your resume in 20 minutes and hit submit. If you have an hour, you could probably fill up the whole hour, thinking about your resume, but 20 minutes is also okay. Set a timer if you need to, okay? Because the best kind of resume is one that is submitted. That's the only one that's going to be considered. Another piece here is that all work, clients, customers, short-term contract, and anything, self-employment, anything at all comes from interaction. You really cannot be isolated, scrolling through jobs and emailing yourself jobs and expect to have success in this process. You have to be setting yourself up to have engagement with other people. That's one of the ways I assess people's job search is like, are you alone applying for jobs or scrolling through jobs, or are you having phone screens? Are you having networking calls? Do people know that you're looking? So the more points of contact that you have, like the better you're probably doing in your job search. And at the very least, you want to be setting yourself up to have those points of contact by applying for jobs, by requesting, to conversations with people, those sorts of things. And while I'm talking a lot about tailoring your resume, I want to also say, saying tailor your resume and also apply promptly, which is probably contradictory to a lot of you. So what I always like to say is that, usually after 3 to 5 applications, the tailoring process for our clients gets quicker. They get more efficient at it. They get more comfortable and confident with the tactic. Writing resumes, seems like something that would be easy, but actually it requires you to not write incomplete sentences, not be too creative. I mean, you want to be really clear. You don't want to use imaginative language. You want to be very plain and direct. So it's okay if that doesn't feel right to you. I often notice that a lot of my clients who are very strong writers struggle the most with writing this way. So give yourself some time. You also don't have to wait until the perfect job is posted. We love a low stakes job application around here. Pick something that's a 6 out of 10, practice writing that summary of qualifications, and be a little bit better and faster for the next job that comes around. So like I said, we love timers in our community. So set a timer if that's helpful for you. You do want to create reasonable and flexible goals. A lot of our clients are aiming to apply for, I actually had one client who tried to apply for a job every day while she was between jobs. And while those weren't all a great fit for her, what she shared was that it helped her be efficient. She was able to do it faster than if she took a lot of breaks in between jobs. And when she was interviewing, she would have to slow that down and shift goals towards the interview process. A lot of people cannot apply for jobs consistently and interview. I think I attract a lot of introverts. And so it's easier to kind of put tailored resume and applications out there than it is to be, on and having conversations with people for the first time and trying to figure out what your life is going to look like in a few months, right? I'm also a big fan of encouraging people to identify low and high energy tasks. There are things you can do while you're watching TV at night or on the weekends. You can find jobs to apply for. You can set up job alerts. You can, let friends know that you're on the job search. But I also think, there's high energy tasks, right? If you're going to be tailoring and submitting an application for a job you're really excited, choose your peak time if you can to do that. You can always chip away at this. Not everything has to be full throttle. There's plenty of time for low energy tasks. Yeah, Lisa, I thought so too. It's not really the default strategy because it's actually a lot of jobs, but and she knew that all those jobs she wasn't a good fit for. It was just like a good use of her time to she would always say maintain the muscle. So sometimes that's what helps people. So we love that. I think also, allowing for imperfect action is how people consider things like contract work and freelancing. I see a lot of people not take contract or freelance work because they're like, what if I get a full-time job? Then what am I going to do? I would rather that you learn how to gracefully exit a short-term position and be in a position where you've got two potential income generating opportunities than to forego something that could help you in the long run. Okay. So if you're not already interviewing for a job, I think the likelihood that your job search will be over in 6 to 8 weeks seems unlikely to me, given what I see on a regular basis. So you can kind of keep that timing benchmark in mind here. I also encourage people to not like keep their fears to themselves. A lot of times the fears clients have are really common. People, confide in me the same fears on a regular basis. And so there's something about saying them out loud that can kind of take the sting and power out of them. So if you're carrying around a lot of doubts, like you're worried you'll never work again, or you're worried your next job will be as bad as your last job, tell that to a friend, share it with a coach. Like, don't carry that around with you. Let someone, support you and talk you through that. Let's talk a little bit about care. I'm talking self-care, community care here. I think for everyone's sake, I want to encourage you to plan for everything to take longer than you'll think. I don't think we have anything to lose by erring on the side of this taking longer than you'd like. I would much rather you all be happily surprised that things work out more quickly than disappointing people with what I think are unrealistic timelines. I've also seen a lot of ebbs and flows. Okay. So it's not like, for my client who is applying to a job a day, we can't expect a job a day that's perfect for us to be posted. Like more of what I see is like, there's nothing posted that people are a good fit for. And then there's like a half a dozen jobs posted on the same day. And you have to quickly prioritize and decide what you're going to do and how you're going to spend your time and what you're going to apply for first. So that's inconvenient, but it's also normal. So expect that, anticipate that. There's no problem or challenge in the job search that isn't at least slightly remedied by immense amounts of self-compassion. So I want you to please take it easy to yourself. I am talking to Virgo placements. I'm talking to Capricorn placements. Okay. Some of you know who you are. It's really, really important that you be a cheerleader for yourself in this process. No problem, Jessica. I'll send out the recording. I really want you to think about like how you can support yourself and what kind of support you need. I see people talking all kinds of stuff to themselves, and I assure you there are plenty of challenges. We don't need to be another obstacle for ourselves in this process. I also want to encourage you to carve out a life outside of your job search and work. You deserve to see friends. You deserve to sleep in. You deserve to watch trash TV. You deserve to, get out of your house and go on vacation. So do what you can to have a life while this is going on. I know that's easier said than done in a lot of cases. Again, I really want to encourage folks to avoid isolation. I see that a lot. A lot of people don't want to share how hard things are feeling. But if you can put yourself around good people, I think you'll be much better suited for it. A community garden. That's lovely. That is very lovely. I have been personally on a journey of going from like a black thumb to a green thumb. And I find that there's like a lot of really helpful like parallels between job searching and gardening. That's lovely. Monique, that's a good question. I'm not sure if I have any job search sites off the top of my head. But if anyone else wants to share, that would be lovely. All right. I have a lot of strong thoughts and feelings about relationships in your professional career. I will keep it short and say I think it's immensely valuable. One of the most valuable things we can do are find connections and people that we are really aligned with who want to see us succeed. Okay. But this is not something that happens often by accident. It happens with a lot of intention and it happens with a lot of time. So what I want to say to you today is if you don't have, an ecosystem of people that you can support and that are supporting you, this is an invitation to start that process. I think doing this is going to change the way you think about your career. It's going to create opportunities that come to you in the future without you having to look for them. There's some easy ways that you can start to do this. The first I would say is like, look at what is on your radar. Are there workshops, meetings, conferences, webinars that you've been meaning to go to? Finding aligned opportunities to meet people with similar interests is a great way to find people that you're going to actually like having a relationship with, which is how I recommend you do this, by the way. I recommend building relationships with people you like. It's going to help with those feelings of like inauthenticity or, having transactional relationships. Just find people and places that you actually like to spend time. Professional development organizations, college alumni groups. You might have to try a few things, so don't be dissuaded if the first few things you go to aren't a good fit. And I also want to remind you that people want to help and you probably have a lot to offer. a lot of times because job seekers are looking for something, they tend to feel like they don't have anything to offer in return. And that's not necessarily what you need to be concerned with. It's not necessarily expected, but it's also not necessarily true. Whatever your background is, people could be curious about it. You may have people in your own network that you can help make introductions to. So don't make any assumptions that you are not bringing anything to this process. Now, as we're wrapping up here, I just want to say some final tips. Sorry for the noise, living in the city here. I want to encourage folks to make some templates for especially for this networking piece. Having a go-to email, ChatGPT is actually great for this. Um, Having some go-to templates will make those connection requests a little bit easier. You don't have to have like an existential crisis every time you're sending an email or sending a LinkedIn message. Remember that you have a lot to offer, and go where your interests are. I'll also just say, go out, period. I've had clients like end up with interviews because they went to a wedding and met someone who was hiring for their kind of role. So while I do tend to kind of default to talking about professional development groups and college alumni and that kind of stuff, like actually just going out and being social can sometimes be very serendipitous for a lot of people. Okay, so we are now coming all the way back around the wheel. Should we connect with people in the company on LinkedIn to mention we are interested in the job? I think you certainly could. I would try to find maybe the hiring manager or people on the team. And I might send a message instead of saying like, I'm interested in the job. I might say, I saw a job you recently posted. I'm very interested in what your team is doing and would love to be connected. Sometimes there's like rules, policies about how employees can interact with applicants. So if you just keep it low stakes in general, you might increase your chance of getting a connection there. So sorry, I don't know if you guys can hear the background noise. I'm glad I have my headphones on. I want you to think a little bit about what could be useful for you. Like, what are the challenges that you are having at this juncture in your job search? Is your resume and job and your target jobs and your experience, I should probably say, are those things aligned, or do you need help considering the right kind of roles? Do you need help making sure your resume is conveying your qualifications? Is it time to consider shifting your target roles? Okay, this is a good inflection point. So if you've been job searching for like 8 weeks, consistent in your applications, these are some questions that I would ask. I'm not sure it's worth asking these questions unless you've been consistently using your resume for a good period of time. Okay. Another thing to look at is consistency. Are you able to take action in a consistent way, or do you just have a really hard time getting motivated or knowing what to do, and you're getting demoralized and frustrated and struggling to do what you need to do for yourself? This is really important too. Like a lot of times when people aren't getting interviews, it's because the inputs into that process, the conversations with people in your network, the applications, that's what creates these opportunities. So we have to look at sort of, what are the necessary inputs? And if you're not able to put those into the process, the likelihood of getting your desired output is low. Okay. And also, we want to think a little bit about relationships here. Do you need to expand your network? Do you need tactical support to, figure out how to do this in a strategic and efficient way? This can be really, really valuable. And in some spaces, I'm seeing so few job opportunities for our clients that they need to do more of this relationship work so that when those jobs do come through the pipeline, they're top of mind. Negotiation is also really important. And despite this being a really competitive market, and despite the fact that I don't think, a couple years ago, salaries were really moving up, and I don't see that, but I do see competitive offers being extended, even in very competitive fields. So make sure that you have the skills to advocate for yourself. You want to think about negotiation. We don't talk about it too much in this webinar, but for those of you who might be close to that process, you want to think about this as you're interviewing. Your interview process is always an opportunity for you to be positioning yourself for the best possible offer. And there are still good offers happening out there. Okay. I want you to also consider if alternative short-term work might be good for you. And you can pursue it in congruence with something longer term. But I, love to see that people who have the need to resource themselves give themselves permission to do it. And then, of course, make sure you have encouragement, accountability, ongoing support for your job search, whether that's through friends or other means. I just think this is really difficult work to do alone. It's helpful to have someone with provide some external accountability. I know that's a really big deal for most of our clients. They flourish with some external accountability. Okay, I am going to wrap up my formal presentation. We have a few minutes left. I'm happy to take questions. And while I'm giving you all a minute to share any last minute thoughts or questions in the chat, I will say we do have a fall job search community starting October 16th. So I will send out some information about that when I send out the recording. Okay, let's see here. Regarding overqualification and playing down your experience, do you have advice for someone who wants to intentionally down level in order to keep working in their industry, but reduce responsibility for personal reasons that wouldn't play well in an interview? Sort of like a bridge job, but utilizing existing skills. It's tricky trying to craft that story in a way that's honest enough, especially for a compulsively honest person, but still look like a good candidate. Yes, let me think about how I want to respond to this. I recommend taking a good look at the jobs that you do want and taking a look at the years of experience that they require. If you have like 15 or 20 years of experience and they're asking for 5, I wouldn't necessarily recommend having 5, but maybe cutting it down to 10 and calling your experience on your resume recent experience rather than, work experience or professional experience. And I would speak really plainly in a summary to the qualifications that they're listing there. And then for someone like you, I would probably write a really thoughtful cover letter. Let me just give an example. This might not be something that works for you, but I see this sometimes in people who are like a few years away from retirement and like don't want to like move up. They want to like mentor junior people or just be an individual contributor and like I'm going to say coast, but like not in a bad way, in like a very reasonable, nice way to kind of semi transition into retirement. I also see people do this when they have like immense caretaking work and, whether it's kids or parents or someone else, like don't want to run a team. And so I would spend some time in that cover letter, not necessarily mired in those details, but sharing a little bit about like that you're ready to take a step back and contribute your expertise, but at an individual contributor level, and focus on the subject matter expertise that you're bringing to the table. You could be a really great candidate, but people are going to have questions like, why is this very experienced person applying for this job? Maybe they don't understand what we're asking for. And so the degree to which you can use your resume and cover letter and even some like relationship building to tell that story in a way that reduces uncertainty on their part, I think could be helpful. Sure, KB. On the opposite side, for a career changer with fewer years of direct experience than the ideal candidate, what do you suggest in the resume summary and beyond? I think if you are, significantly if you are missing significant years of experience, I would focus on relationships. I think that's going to be the easiest way to like overcome that is to know or build a connection with the person doing the hiring. I think it's going to be difficult in this market, not impossible because nothing's impossible, but difficult to overcome significant years of experience. I guess it depends what fewer looks like, 1, maybe 2 years if you're, a standout candidate in every other way, perhaps, but chances are, a lot more than that would sort of give me pause. I would also make sure, Kelly, that you do give yourself experience for the previous experience that you have. Sometimes people are just asking for like 10 years of experience, including doing X, Y, and Z, as opposed to 10 years of experience doing X, Y, Z. So I will sometimes position people's experience like that and at least put forward the very best case, which is all we can do when we're applying online using our resume. Does that help? Okay, good questions. Any other questions? I could take one or two more. Maybe we're good. Do people want to share in the chat as we're wrapping up what their next step is going to be based on today's webinar? Yes, Lisa, I would recommend if you've got PhD after your name and your header, taking that off, moving the PhD just to your education, and truncating your years of experience to better align if you can't make it perfectly align with your target roles. No problem. I work with lots of PhDs. Review my resume to add. Love that, Fernanda. Excellent. I love bullet points. Everyone loves bullet points. Yes, I know. My clients here will know that, like, not only do I like bullet points, I like very specific bullet points. That might be too much on my end, but nonetheless, a summary of qualifications. Excellent. All right. Well, I want to thank everyone for taking the time to join me today. I am going to let this video render. I'm going to make sure I get it out there. And I do have a discount code for early bird registration for folks who join our fall cohort. So thank you all for being here. I really appreciate your trust. I'm sending you all my very best wishes for a successful job search. You guys can't tell, but I have a candle over here with, with employment oil on it. So we're burning candles, we're doing all the things, right? Hope you guys all have a really great rest of your day. Thanks for coming. You're welcome.